The sudden appearance of bright lights in a dark night or machines rotating to a returning electricity current comes with excitement in Nigeria, and everyone gets to business contributing to the economy.
Electricity is very germane, very essential to any business and to any industrialization.
But these intermittent stops and starts point to a lingering challenge which may be as old as the nation itself. Power supply or lack of it can be used to measure a nation's mileage on the road to development. Nigeria has over the years thrown many policies and concepts at the power sector to get the spark that will bring it to full capacity, but the current of development continues to fluctuate.
The load demand capacity of the nation is more than 10,000 megawatt. Even when we do 6,000 megawatt, there's institutionally designed load rejection. And so, to us, it's grinding the economy to a halt, the way we are drifting. So we just have to, in national interest, go back to the drawing table.
The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, is determined to change the narratives in the power sector, to stand up to the challenges, to ensure that all the problems that we have experienced in the power sector, become a thing of the past. And is not only committed, is giving us the right support at the Ministry of Power and our agencies to ensure that we change the narratives and we're able to come out of that jinx of epileptic power supply, so that this administration will go down in history as one that brings stability into electricity supply to household businesses and industries.
President Bola Tinubu has stepped in at a time many believe the power sector needs some bold initiatives. The new helmsman has adopted a brick-by-brick approach in surmounting the challenges and ensuring the availability of electricity nationwide. Some far-reaching initiatives and executive commitments have already been put in place by the President. He has also signed a new Electricity Act to address foundational challenges in the power sector and provide sustainable legal framework that opens the market for states to participate.
It has paved way for increased investments, for renewed interest in the power sector, and is no longer exclusive to the federal government alone. So that state governments can actually invest in the power sector value chain. And a lot of investments too are coming from the private sector because of this liberalization. And number two, this is bringing power sector down to the grassroots, closer to the people.
It is a very bold move by the government to really tackle the issue of electricity, and I'm very confident to say that by the virtue of the opportunities this act has created, we are really on track to address the root cause of the problems that we are experiencing in the sector. One, it has opened the investment portfolio, which means that a state can enter into partnership with generation companies, generation plants to generate, to transmit, to distribute, that aspect of it. So that is a huge aspect of it, which before the act was centrally. So you have to go through the Nigerian trading, bulk electricity trading to sign a PPA before you can start developing your project. But now the state can create a framework whereby investors will do that. So that reduces a lot of bottlenecks.
This act has further strengthened the agency, NEMSA. And some of the areas that it has strengthened NEMSA, there are new provisions now. One of the provisions is that it is now mandatory that all electrical installations, whether it's an upgrade, whether it's an extension, whether it's a temporary electrical installations or permanent one, must undergo inspection, testing, and certification by NEMSA before such installations can be put into use. That's one area. Another area has to do with the accidents. So it is mandatory that all the utility companies must report the occurrence of any electrical accident within 48 hours to NEMSA for the investigation.
This act also provides for states to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity within their domains, thereby reducing pressure on the national grid. So far, 12 states have indicated interest to create their electricity market, with approval already granted to Enugu and Ekiti states by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission.
So if each zone, for instance, we have Shiroro, Kayenji, and Jebba around this, the north central zone, then they have that potential of having hydro as their best load energy. You go to south, you find a lot of gas, a lot of this thing, then you have those gas tanks. But in the far north, you have some places have a lot of sunshine and whatever you have, you generate from solar. But then you have nuclear to complement. It depends on not all these parameters. Now, by the time you do that, each zone has its energy master plan. And then the supply system, the generation, supply, transmission, and distribution within that zone can take care of the energy need of that zone. And if there's surplus, you warehouse it. You then send it to the central and warehouse it. I think if we decentralize our own energy systems, energy transmission, and distribution, then I think something will happen.
While sub-nationals are setting machinery in motion to attract investors into the market in their territories, the current administration at the center is investing in generation with a target of achieving 6,000 megawatts of electricity within the year and 20,000 megawatts in the next few years. To achieve this, the federal government concessioned the newly built Zungeru hydroelectric power plant, generating 700 megawatts of electricity to the national grid, while 40 megawatts of electricity is also being evacuated to the grid from the Kashimbila multipurpose dam in Taraba State.
Part of the achievement of this administration is that, in the power sector, is that we have achieved the highest generation in terms of outputs in the last 3 years of 5,000 megawatts of power in the early part of May. We've always been roving around 3,008, 4,000, 4,002 and all that. Today, we can generate 5,000 megawatts of power. In fact, we did that and we hope to sustain it so that the improvement that we have noticed is made permanent and not just a flash in the pan.
24 mini dams across the country, which had been abandoned, have been resuscitated to generate additional megawatts of electricity to the grid. This is in addition to ongoing efforts to ensure availability of gas to the National Integrated Power Project plants to enable them generate electricity at full installed capacity of 5,000 megawatts. The good news is that the debt owed generation companies and gas suppliers over the years are being offset.
We have actually reached an advanced stage at ensuring that some funds are released to defray part of this debt owed to the power generating companies, number one, and also with the debt management office, the DMO, we are trying to design a guaranteed debt instrument that will actually be given to these power generating companies apart from the cash injection that we are going to achieve in terms of promissory notes. So if we can achieve this, which I believe in the next 1 to 2 weeks, which we'll be able to conclude, the power generating companies will be encouraged and they will be incentivized to ramp up their power generation output, and Nigerians will start enjoying a more stable electricity supply.
The nation's dream of ensuring a vibrant and highly effective manufacturing sector is hinged on the success of these initiatives. Many times in the past, noble and patriotic commitments have been thwarted by deep-rooted problems. The drivers of the sector today must literally be able to absorb some low currents on the way.
Nigeria is more of a gas province than oil. We have a lot of gas. We can use the oil, we can use the gas to strengthen the country, to build the infrastructure, to have more power plants and so on. But that does not stop adoption of renewable energy in an expanded way. We can still expand the renewable energy, but the aspects of where gas has to be used will continue. And mind you, many Nigerians fail to understand one point. The issue of net zero is not absolute zero. The meaning is that we can still continue to use oil and gas emitting, but then as years come by, we'll be absorbing the emission through two major schemes. One is the issue of carbon capture and sequestration. This is the essence of circular carbon economy. And the second one, which environmentalists like a lot, is the plantations of trees. Trees are excellent absorbers of carbon dioxide emissions. So as years go by, even when we reach 2060, there will still be use of oil and gas. But by that 2060, we have to capture all the emissions absolutely, so that the net, the emissions, and then the absorption will balance each other.
Some of the efforts in ensuring access to power nationwide include the renewed commitment to harnessing renewable energy sources in the country. The federal government is currently constructing 3 gigawatts of solar-powered plants of 100 megawatts each in 24 states.
We impacted about 7.8 million lives in the country. We have connected 1.8 million houses. We have developed 150 mini grids and also deployed over 1.5 million solar home systems across the country. One of the key things that this present administration has succeeded in achieving is the signing of the biggest public sector funded off-grid project in the entire world, a $750 million project that we popularly call DARE, Distributed Access Through Renewable Energy Scale-Up. This is the biggest public funded project in the entire world, and it's been conceived and signed and approved by this government. This DARE project, it's quite ambitious, and this is to show you how this present government are tackling the issue of electricity access.
The best way that electricity supply will improve in Nigeria at the moment, for a customer to see light when he switches on his switch, he sees light, is to have a combination of the different sources of power to bring it to bear. Like now is era of renewable energy, solar, wind, plant, and all of those. If you are able to face, all right, to encourage a wide population or customers of Nigeria, and then make them to understand that renewable energy is the shortest way to go, you will have light like now you are seeing, even in the city centers. A lot of customers are beginning to change their mentality, and then they are taking the option of renewable energy, solar, and using it in their homes, because when you have those solar home systems, when you have those solar street lights, all right, you have light uninterrupted for 24 hours. Combine the two, and then make sure that you also provide incentives that will encourage the customers to make sure that those facilities, those equipments are subsidized. It will improve power supply to a large extent.
There are also ongoing interventions of solar home systems and off-grid mini solutions to communities not connected to the national grid. While the administration is working on increasing generation, the transmission and distribution networks are receiving attention to strengthen capacity of infrastructure to wheel power that will be distributed to end users. To this end, President Tinubu signed a memorandum of understanding with the German Chancellor to accelerate implementation of Siemens project, which is to strengthen transmission and distribution networks. So far, 10 mega transformers and mobile substations have been delivered and are currently being installed in parts of the country. The second phase of the project will focus on the upgrade of 14 existing transmission substations, construction of 22 new substations, and upgrade of 14,000 kilometers line to strengthen transmission network. On the distribution arm, the Siemens project will upgrade 6,000 transformers and fix other distribution infrastructure to address cases of load rejection.
In areas where the Siemens deal have been implemented, like in Egypt, what you have that has saved the country to industrialization was the implementation of the Siemens agreement. The Siemens agreement is all-encompassing. It includes distribution, it includes transmission, it includes generation. Therefore, what is happening, like you would expect any transparent government, the government decided to do government-to-government deal. Government-to-government deal means there is no room for misappropriation of funds, non-execution of contract, because government is aware of its own country integrity. Equipment that was signed in that contract, a lot of it is now coming into Nigeria.
The rehabilitation and expansion project to upgrade obsolete transmission infrastructure is being implemented by the Transmission Company of Nigeria with the support of the World Bank, African Development Bank, and other development partners.
We are building new substations. We are reinforcing the old substation with new transformers, some 150 MVA, some 300, some 60 MVA. Then we are also building new transmission line, both 330 and 132. We are also doing what is called conducting. That means changing the cable, the conductor, so that that line can carry more power. Some of these lines, they are outdated, they have been there for a long time, so we need to change the conductors. The SCADA system contract has been awarded by the World Bank. The World Bank is funding the project, and by grace of God, the timeline is 2 years. Already, 1 year is almost gone. So within the next 12 months, by grace of God, the SCADA project is going to be completed. By the time we have SCADA, we will be able to know what is happening in the system 24 hours.
Many may say to solve the nation's power conundrum, the first requirement is the willpower, which the present administration has demonstrated with its commitment to turn around the sector by providing incentives to investors. The issue of inadequate liquidity in the sector is also being addressed with a new tariff regime. This, industry players say, is still work in progress. Under the new tariff, customers in Band A categorization pay 206.8 naira per kilowatt hour with minimum of 20 hours daily supply, while customers in other bands categorization continue to enjoy federal government subsidy with their tariffs frozen.
The customers that are going to be affected are the customers that are living in locations where no investment is required to meet the 20 hours service, and they constitute less than 15% of the customer population. That is that. Then for other customers, are they neglected? No. They will still continue to get service, but not up to 20 hours. And there are targets that are being provided for the distribution companies, which the Commission will monitor and review from time to time to ensure the migration of other customers to better service.
To close the metering gap in the country and ensure efficient revenue collection by the distribution companies, the present administration has set a target supply of 2 million meters each year under the Presidential Metering Initiative. The initiative has kicked off with mass metering of military formations nationwide.
We have an ambitious plan. It's an aggressive plan to ensure that we eliminate this meter gap in a period of 4 to 5 years. And the only way we can do this is that we have a target of acquiring minimum of 2 million meters on a yearly basis over the next 4 to 5 years. The first challenge is the issue of fund. And Mr. President has magnanimously released a seed capital of about 75 billion to us. And we have the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA, as our debt provider partner in this regard, whereby about 250 billion will be provided on a yearly basis for us to fund this meter acquisition plan. And I believe that once we take off on this plan, the issue of estimated billing will become a thing of the past. I'll be able to deliver meters to all electricity consumers across the country.
We are quite ready for any number of meters that will come into the country. It's good that the government is trying by all means to ensure that the metering gap is closed as quickly as possible. We have 6 national meter test stations now. 4 of them are already in operation. 2 are about to be finalized because the building's construction has been completed, and we are now getting ready with the test equipment to resource them. Basically, we have 3 types of testing that we do. One of them is the type test certification of these electricity meters. So when you produce these meters in large quantities, you're still not allowed to deploy them in the system in the country. They have to undergo what we call routine tests. And this routine test is the test we carry out on these batches of meters to ensure that that standard that you had when you brought the type of meter, the brand of meter for type test, it's the same standard, it's the same quality that you are bringing it. And it's after this routine test that these meters are now allowed to be deployed in the system, in the country.
All what you have in the power sector is operation and maintenance of equipment, which are largely skilled oriented. So all those who work within the power sector, they need to be skilled up before they can be allowed to even go on the line. And we know about people engineers before and when they graduate from the university, they have knowledge of theory, but for them to be physically positioned to be able to work on the power network, they need to go through the pupillage program, which used to be a 2-year program but now 1-year program. Is very, very key, because the essence of that one is to bridge the gap between academic qualification and skills required to operate on the power network. And that's what NAPTIN is all about. That's our mandate, to build skills that will make it possible for human capacity within the power sector to operate and maintain infrastructure.
The government is doing a lot, but I want Nigerians to understand that power projects take time. A lot of investment is made in this sector, but it takes 2 to 3 years before you can see the result. Because most of the equipment we are using, you cannot just go and buy them in the shelf. You have to order for them, you have to give specifications, they have to be manufactured, they have to be shipped before you erect them. So I'm assured Nigerians that the government is doing all what is possible to make sure that this power problem is solved in Nigeria.
NEPA is the name synonymous with power supply in Nigeria. Citizens coined the comedic acronym "Never Expect Power Always" after being let down many times. Today's leaders, however, believe that with the new currents of efficiency, accountability, investment and technology being infused into the sector, Nigerians in the not too distant future will live to rely on its power sector always, with the economy fully switched on.